Wouldn't you expect the area with Iceland's main international airport to be crowded? I know that I would, but it seems like that's not really the case. The area we'll look into today is called Reykjanes Peninsula. The part of Iceland many people just drive straight through or only visit for the Blue Lagoon. You might have also heard about it because of all the volcanic eruptions lately. And in this video, I'll take you through some of the fresh lava fields, show you what you can do here, why it's not for everyone, and how you could fit it into your Iceland trip. And if you are new to the channel, I just quickly want to mention that all the places that I'll be covering in this video are included in my Iceland travel guide, along with hundreds more that we won't have a time to go over in this video. Plus, if you'd like a rental discount, planning tips and all kinds of other travel deals sent to your email, and I'll make sure to link everything below. So is it worth visiting? Honestly, yeah, but it also depends on what you are after. If you've got some spare time before your flight, or maybe your arrival day isn't too packed, or you are doing a stopover, then this is one of the easiest areas to explore without driving too far. For the shorter loop around the peninsula, it is actually only about 160 kilometers, which isn't much. But what really surprises me the most is how quiet this place is. You would really expect the area around the airport to be crowded with tourists, but Reykjanes just isn't. It kind of feels like this forgotten part of Iceland, even though the landscape is insane, with lava fields, geothermal steam, cliffs, craters. Totally different vibe than the waterfalls and mountains that people usually chase here. That being said, it is not for everyone. If this is your one and only Iceland trip and you are trying to hit the big highlights, the big waterfalls and glacial lagoons, then Reykjanes might feel a little bit underwhelming. But if you've already done all the classics, or maybe you are into geology and volcanic landscapes, or you just want something different, then it is absolutely worth a few hours. And because everything is so close to the airport, it is a great option for a specific scenario. Sometimes as people drive to the airport, they realize that they still have plenty of time to spare. And this area is perfect for filling up that extra time. And so instead of just sitting in the cafe at the airport, basically wasting your time, you can really squeeze in that one last adventure. Alright, let's start with a place that I had never visited before. Holmsberg Lighthouse. This lighthouse is located right next to the town of Keflavík, and it is a great place to visit, especially if you are staying in Keflavík. I was there completely alone, which again was quite surprising considering it is so close to the airport. Heads up, getting there means driving through an industrial zone that feels like you are not really supposed to be there. Plus there are not really any signs, and so just follow your navigation and you should find it no problem. Next up, Garðskagi lighthouse. Yes, another lighthouse, actually two of them. Again, super quiet place with just a few cars around. It really felt like this place should have been busier, especially with the big parking lot there and the camping ground. But there was actually only one van parked there. Fair enough, it's April, it is not peak season, but still. Other than the lighthouses, there is also an old boat next to the museum and restaurant that you can check out, and a beach to explore. This stone church, built in 1887, is definitely not your typical Icelandic church. And it is worth a short visit, even though it is most likely going to be closed when you are there. Once again, I was the only person there, which probably made the place feel even more special. Only about a 5-minute drive from there lies another interesting location, one I always skipped in the past, but this time I'm glad I didn't. Stafnesviti lighthouse. Yes, I know, another lighthouse, but I think that photographers will really appreciate this one. Plus, the whole area has a rich history dating back to like 16th century. The cliffs in front of it are full of little rock pools, and if you line things up just right, they reflect the lighthouse perfectly. It is really a unique chance to get some really cool photos from a place that not so many people visit. And funny story, when I arrived, the parking lot was completely empty. Perfect. But as soon as I hopped out of the car, the van pulled up with like 16 people, which is a lot for a tiny spot like this. In my opinion, places like that are really only worth it if you are there completely alone or maybe with just like 2 or 3 other people. And so I waited for about 20 minutes and then walked there after they left, and I had the place completely to myself. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that this is something that you'll most likely experience too during your visit. And so if you see a bus and you have a time to spare, then just wait a little bit and you'll definitely at least 10x your experience of the place. And by the way, this would be a perfect place to photograph northern lights. It is completely in the middle of nowhere, so there is no light pollution, and then the lighthouse makes a great subject for your photos too. Next up, a place that many people find interesting, but for me personally, it wasn't really worth the stop. The bridge between continents. It is a symbolic bridge between the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, but at the end of the day, in my opinion at least, it is just a bridge in the middle of the lava field. And now time for one of my favorite places in Reykjanes Peninsula, Valahnúkur. If you are after dramatic coastal views, then this is it. You'll find unique rock formation and crashing waves, especially around Karlinn, a 50-meter tall eroded volcanic plaque. It is a great place for photographers, especially on stormy days when the waves are big and dramatic, which unfortunately wasn't the case when I was there. And if you're like me and can't help climbing every rock and cliff you see, then you'll be happy to know that you can actually hike up to the top of the cliffs. Just be careful. Recent seismic activity has fractured the edges, and I think that's pretty clear indicator not to get too close. There are actually some ropes around, but I didn't really see any signs, so I'm guessing that this is one of those enter at your own risk situations. That said, the views from up there totally worth the short hike. Right next door lies Gunnuhver, a geothermal area with mud pools and steam vents. You only need a few minutes here, but it's one of those places where you can really feel the power of nature. A little further east is Krýsuvíkurkirkja, a small countryside church that also only takes a few minutes detour from the main road. And as you continue driving north, you'll come across more interesting places right along the road, like this green lake for example, or Krýsuvík, another geothermal area full of colorful steaming pools and mud. And then there is Lake Kleifarvatn, a place that always takes my breath away. Honestly, I really want to come back to document more and just hike around and take some photos because this area has so much to offer. There are cliffs, black sand beaches, scenic viewpoints and trails that run along and above the lake. Just be careful when you drive there, because I remember a few years ago when I was visiting the place for the first time, I was doing maybe 80 or 90 kilometers per hour and nearly got into the accident because there are some very sketchy and tight turns. And I think there are some warning signs, but the turns are sharper than you would expect, and especially sketchy in the winter when the roads can be icy. So is that it? Is that everything that you can see in Reykjanes Peninsula? Definitely not. There are so many other places and activities that I simply didn't have a time for. Some of which I just simply couldn't reach because I had a tiny rental car. And that's why I always tell you that it is always better to rent a 4-wheel drive, especially if you want to explore off the beaten path. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, you can find all the other places that I recommend inside my Iceland blueprint guide. So definitely check it out if you want to discover all kinds of hidden places all around Iceland. Now, I couldn't just make a video about Reykjanes Peninsula without showing you the volcanic aftermath. Driving through there was surreal. You could literally feel the temperature change from inside the car as you got closer. Last time I was there was during the first two eruptions in 2021 and 2022. Before the events that led to town Grænavatn being evacuated and the road buried under the lava. Seeing the massive lava barriers to stop the flow and protect the town really gives you a sense of the scale of what's happened here. And I saved this part for last because the things there can still change at any moment. This area is still active and the next eruption could easily close the road again. But if you have a chance and time, definitely check it out. It really feels surreal driving through there. But overall, I think that the Reykjanes Peninsula is absolutely worth visiting. You can spend just a few hours exploring the spots near the airport, or even a whole day or more, driving into every corner, hiking and discovering all kinds of hidden gems this area has to offer. And if you're into volcanic landscapes, then you will definitely want to learn more about this place, which I covered in one of my previous videos, and trust me, you'll definitely not want to miss this one.